Hello, guys, and welcome to the Yankee and the Brit. It is just me today, but this is our pre-game show on a Saturday. If you want to go look at Jay's picks, which I mean, if you want to go look at Jay's picks and you don't think mine are worth anything, then that's fine. But you can go do that. If you go look on our YouTube channel, you can see Jay's video, which was yesterday. So go check out Jay's video from yesterday. With the NFL's change of scheduling and us getting Saturday games, um, we hadn't quite sorted out our schedule itself. So very exciting that the NFL has Saturday games, and we'll work on getting our schedule together for those Saturday games going forward. If you are watching this, video, then please give a like and subscribe. Obviously, this is a Saturday pre-game show, but you can watch it while the Saturday games are on because loads of the picks and the betting lines are all on Sunday. So in this show, we'll talk about the picks for this week and the betting lines. So good to see you all. Lovely to have you. Let's get into some football because we have 30 minutes before the kickoff of the Vikings versus the Bengals. And let's start with the first game of the week, which was the Chargers versus the Raiders, and more specifically, the fallout from this game. So, first of all, it was an absolute arse whipping, 63-21, and that 21 points for the Chargers was just begging points, to be honest. Wasn't even close. It wasn't as close as 63-21. So, a real beatdown there for the Chargers. And for people saying that Herbert doesn't look all that and he doesn't look like a great quarterback, look what's been happening since he's out. Warren Stick does look like possibly one of the worst backup quarterbacks that we've seen in the league. He can run about a little bit and throw a few things on a dime, but the changeover of the changeover from Herbert to Warren Stick has really shown that Stick might not be the guy there, and it has given credence to Herbert, who has been facing some criticism over the past couple of weeks. So look what happens when Herbert wasn't there. And to add to this, Staley has been sacked, and it is about time as well. Brandon Staley wasn't a good coach in the NFL, should have been sacked probably at the start of this season. Brought in to be a defensive mastermind when his defense gives up points and yards all over the place. Went too risky for it, even going against the analytics, saying he was going in with analytics on fourth down. Horrible. Also, GM Tom Telesco has been sacked from the Chargers as well, which I feel Telesco can feel a little bit hard done by. But I mean, if you get the coach wrong, then you get everything else wrong as well. So they've assembled a lot of talent on that roster. So I feel like Telesco can feel a little bit hard done by, but he's only got himself to blame for not going to the owners about sacking Brandon Staley sooner. Obviously, we don't know if that's the thing, but yeah, Staley's been sacked. For me, I would give Kellen Moore an audition now to be a head coach. I actually think his offense has been poor this season, and I think if you look at the Dallas Cowboys since the bye with Mike McCarthy, you can see that maybe his offense was the problem in the NFL. So in the Dallas Cowboys organization. So not 100% sure that Kellen Moore is the guy, but I think maybe worth giving an audition to Kellen Moore as well. So yeah, a lot of fallout from that game for the Chargers, but I don't think any of us can say that we are surprised. The other news from that game is Aiden O'Connell, the QB of the future in Vegas, after having been blanked against the Vikings the week before. Well, he has a 63% completion rate in his rookie year, which isn't bad at all. An 81 passer rating, which in your rookie year is also okay. So I think he's worth giving a chance if you aren't in a good draft position. So if the Raiders don't have their draft position that they need to go get one of these top quarterbacks, but I would be looking for the quarterbacks in the draft. But I would be starting Aiden O'Connell over Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's not saying that Aiden O'Connell is necessarily better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but I think, when you're having Jimmy, that Jimmy is injury prone. From what we've seen with Aiden O'Connell, I don't think you have a step down if you're playing him over Jimmy Garoppolo. So let's see how that goes in the future for the Raiders, and a lot of fallout from that Chargers game. Let's see who their coach of the future be. Personally, I give Kellen Moore the audition, see how it goes. And then in the offseason, I'm comparing Kellen Moore with maybe the possibility of Harbaugh coming from Michigan. I don't like the Bill Belichick trade. Obviously I'm not keen on the Dan Quinn trade as a Cowboys fan either, but I feel like when you've got Justin Herbert, you need a young offensive minded coach. So let's see how Kellen Moore's audition goes there, is what I would do if I was the Chargers in that situation. Okay, on to Saturday football, the first Saturday games of the year. We are moving on to having games all weekend. Very exciting. And the game that we start off with is Bengals Vikings, which would have been Burrow versus Kirk Cousins, and it is not now. Jay picked the Vikings in this game, which obviously Jay is a Vikings fan, so he's very at liberty to pick the Vikings, and all the points that he made are very good. The Vikings have one of the best defenses in the league. I think anybody who doesn't admit that is thinking with their past hat on and forgets that the league changes every single year because of the draft and things like that. So the Vikings are one of the best teams in the league, and it's about time everybody starts realizing it. Brian Flores has had a great season so far, and it's the best thing for the Minnesota Vikings is Brian Flores as a hire this year. Obviously, Ken O'Connell has been great, but with the quarterback issues there, we haven't seen the full breadth of his amazing status so far. The Bengals, however, have scored 34 points in the past 2 games, which is pretty amazing when you consider that Jake Browning is the quarterback. What we have in this game is 2 good backup QBs in Nick Mullins as well, who spent time in the systems with 2 great wide receiver calls. So it's very interesting to see how this goes. Looking at this game, yeah. Sorry, Jay is obviously commenting from Oalaway. Yeah, because the quarterback issues, you've seen how great O'Connell is. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the coaching situation in Minnesota is very solid for the years to come. With all that being said, I think the Bengals also have a good, solid defense as well. Browning has more recent game experience than Mullins, who has spent time in this system, but Browning has got recent game experience and played really well with this wide receiving core. JJ coming off an injury. Let's see how he does. I'm going to take the Bengals -3 at home. Wouldn't be surprised if the Vikings pull out a win there, though, as well. But Bengals at home. Jake Browning with more recent game experience over Nick Mullins, and both have excellent wide receiver cores. So that should be a fun game to watch, actually. Will be really fun to watch that in about 25 minutes time. Better hurry up with the rest of my picks. So the Colts are -1 versus the Steelers. So the Colts are going into the Steelers building, and I am honestly so surprised about this particular point spread. -1 seems very, very close. The Steelers have lost against the Cardinals and the Patriots now in the past 2 weeks, which is incredible that they've done that, and everybody's still giving them the credit of like a hard-nosed team, great defense. But let's not get it twisted. Minshew would be starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, especially with Kenny Pickett out. But obviously, probably with Kenny Pickett there, Gardner Minshew would be the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they have a better quarterback. The Steelers give up a lot of yardage. They don't give up a lot of points on the defensive side of the ball, but they give up a lot of yardage as well. I think this is going to be a close game, but I do trust the Colts' offensive capability a lot more. So -1, far too close to me. If the point spread was up to -4, -5, I would start to maybe think about leaning the other way. But I really like what the Colts are building there. Solid run game. Not an amazing defense, but certainly on the way there. Good quarterback play from Minshew. And we move on and see how we see how that game turns out, because I think maybe close game. And we haven't even got to the most egregious part of the point spread yet, which is the Cowboys being underdogs to the Bills, but Dak still blows, even though he's playing as the MVP in the league so far this season. So we will talk more about this later in the show. Okay. We are now with the Detroit Lions going into Denver, where Jay has picked the Denver Broncos to be within -5 I think it was -4 when Jay picked, but -5 is what I got um, to the Denver. The Detroit Lions are -5 going. Jesus, the Detroit Lions are -5 playing at home to Denver. Jay picked Denver in this game going away. I think if the Lions play risky underdog football, they will lose this game. They'll lose this game if they play that risky football. Underdogs, they can't continue to go 1-5 on fourth down like they did last week. They can't continue to do that. Do I trust Dan Campbell to stop playing that risky side of football? No, not really. I don't trust that. However, I do think that the Lions terrible defensive stats are because he continues to put them in bad field position by going for it on fourth down? Or would they be helped by them kicking some field goals when they get in field goal range as well? You can look at the Cowboys last week against the Eagles. You can just play by kicking field goals. Obviously, from 60 and 59 yards is not always easy accessible to everybody. But yeah, if it continues like this, Dan Campbell should really be out of a job by the end of the season, because he will be the reason that the Lions haven't won as many games as they should have this year. A lot of the reasons are, I think, due to Dan Campbell. Yes, Jared Goff has regressed a little bit, but I think Dan Campbell is the reason that they're losing these games because of this silly, risky underdog style football. The Lions won't sack Dan Campbell. They love him too much, but they should if he continues to do this. I don't trust the Detroit Lions to not play this risky game of football. I still think they're going to win, but I'll take the Broncos. I'll take the Broncos at +5 in this sheet. We've got some MVP talk in the chat. Please do feel free to add to that and like and subscribe the video as we're going through. I'll get more onto these MVP chats as we move a bit further into the podcast. But what we're looking at right now is the fact that Tyreek Hill is the MVP. I don't think he is going to break that record because of the injury that he's got, and the injury that he's got, and the Dolphins seem to be regressing at points throughout the year. However, if Tyreek Hill does break the MVP record, I think he should get the MVP. I just don't know whether they'll give the MVP to a quarterback. And also, Brock Purdy has the narrative about him where he needs the Avengers to be there because of his 3 losses. He needs Deebo Samuels, Trent Williams, Kittle, Ayuk. He needs those guys. That's the rhetoric around him. I think that Brock Purdy obviously also is a great quarterback and plays very, very well. I think what Cam Newton said about both him and Dak Prescott, which I think me and Jay should do a video about them being game managers, and that's a bad thing, is ridiculous. Cam Newton would have a Super Bowl if he was more like Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy. But yeah, Dak Prescott and Brock Purdy for me are probably the 2 tops to be MVP this year. I'm not sure about Tyreek. If Tyreek Hill breaks the record, I think he should also be MVP. I just don't know whether they'll give it to a non-quarterback. Also interesting that the Dallas Cowboys have never had an MVP play at quarterback, which is interesting. The Dallas Cowboys have never had a QB MVP, which is fun. Okay, so moving on to Sunday's games now. So we have the Panthers going into Atlanta. Jay called Atlanta my sweetheart team. I'm not sure whether it is my sweetheart team, maybe more my sweetheart offensive weapons group. I think maybe that's more. But I have been picking the Falcons a lot. Jay also picked the Falcons in this game. I'm surprised that it's as close as -3, but I suppose it is home field advantage for the Panthers. I think Drake London showed what I've been saying all year. Throw the ball to him and he will make stuff happen. If you throw the ball up to him, he may be one of the best 1v1 get up to the catch point, contested catch people in the league, in my opinion, Drake London. And he looked like that last week. So I would much rather see a gambler like Taylor Heineke in this offense rather than playing it safe with Desmond Ritter. Desmond Ritter isn't the answer. The Falcons should be looking around for new QB options. That should be looking around for QB options. I do like the Falcons, but I'm not sure they're my sweetheart team just because I can't really stand their head coach's philosophy. I think Arthur Smith has got his offense totally wrong this year and last year. On top of that, the Falcons defense has been surprisingly good this year. I'm struggling to decide whether to play Adam Thielen in fantasy this week or not. I'm not entirely sure. I want to see him go against the Falcons defense, but also Bryce Young hasn't really showed us anything all year. So not sure whether Bryce Young is the answer. Desmond Ridder is definitely not. Give me the Falcons -3 in this game. A lot of stuff happening in the chat. If any of you guys want to go get involved, please do. It's always fun for me. So the Saints are at -5.5 against the Giants. I think Jay's picked the Giants. I think his Italian American side has maybe got the better of him there. We all love Tommy DeVito, but let's be fair. It also feels like a big spread of 5.5. Don't get me wrong, especially when the over under is 39 in this game. I do think Tommy DeVito is getting a lot of love. And I definitely think Tommy DeVito deserves it. But let's remember, he threw for 158 yards last week. So, yes, played well. Had about 200 total yards from scrimmage, I think, when you count in his running. Yeah, you picked the Giants to lose, but Jay picked the Lions to lose, but cover the spread. Which is, so that's what I mean. If I say that Jay picks the Giants, I mean the points when I'm going through. Tommy DeVito threw for 158 yards last week. Like, he is getting a lot of love that he deserves. But if you stop Saquon Barkley, then you stop the Giants. However, the Saints do give up 131 yards a game in rushing. So do watch out for that. Do watch out for Saquon Barkley. If you're playing against Saquon Barkley this week in fantasy, I'd possibly be worried. I'm still going to pick the Saints at -5.5 because I think they're better at almost every single position. I think it's also important to remember the Saints have Alvin Kamara, who they should be using more efficiently in this offense as well. Okay, moving on now to the Browns going to Chicago. The Browns are at -3, and Jay picked the Browns for this game as well. Flacco signs a new contract with a lot of incentives for if he wins, which is exciting for Joe Flacco. So well done to him. I think it amounts up to $4 million if he hits every single incentive. So well done to Joe Flacco. You've come back and you've been playing an amazing game. Now, Justin Fields has played some really solid games this year. Up to about, especially against the Lions. So against the poor defense like the Lions, Justin Fields can pick apart a team passing. However, his best stats are still about 240 yards of total passing, which to me, if they're your best stats, that means you're a mediocre quarterback. The Browns are going to be able to pressure him, give him different looks and difficult looks in the defense as well. I think this is going to be too much for Justin Fields. I think Flacco just needs to be careful with the ball, play his game, find the open receivers. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of hate in the comments now. See, when Jay was doing his live show, he didn't get this much hate. But yes, I think Fields has played solid in the past 2 games. I don't think you can say that he hasn't played solid. I just think he's mediocre because his best stats are 204 yards. So mediocre, solid, very similar words. He's played mediocre football this year, looked good against the Lions. Twice he's looked good against the Lions, but I think Fields against the Browns defense with solid pass rush, solid solid difficult looks, I think that the Browns will get out to a -3 lead against the Chicago Bears. Now, one of the more interesting games of the week in terms of the point spread is the Dolphins versus the Jets, a +9. So the Dolphins at home in Miami, +9 against the New York Jets. Jay picked the Jets to cover the spread. So I'm also going to say the Jets defense is going to smack the Dolphins in the mouth early on and slow them down. I would like to see if Tyreek Hill is playing. Obviously, we won't get to know that until closer to game time. So would like to see if Tyreek Hill is playing. I think the Jets are going to smack the Dolphins in the mouth early on. I think if Zach Wilson manages to have a similar game to last week, which again, one of his best games of his career, mediocre quarterback if that is one of the best games of your career, but still one of the best games of his career, and he didn't turn the ball over. So Zach Wilson can play similar to last week, hold on to the ball, not turn the ball over. I think this game could be close. If I'm the Jets, I'm running the ball, I'm keeping ball security at premium, and I think that'll make it close. The Dolphins still win, but the Jets managed to stay in the game for longer than people give them credit for due to the defense versus offense matchup that they have there going on in Miami. And then moving on to a game that I don't think is an interesting a point spread as that the Patriots at home to the Kansas City Chiefs. Jay picked the Chiefs, and I have to agree with him on this one. The Pats defense has been playing awesome all year, but the Chiefs have been unlucky in 3 of their 4 losses this season. 4 of their 2 of their losses have come to 2 of their losses have come to penalty decisions going against them. 1 of their other losses has come to Valdez-Scantling dropping the ball in the final play of the game when he would be going into the end zone. Reminder that Bailey Zappi Mania is taking over in New England. We have Zappi Mania going on again. He went 19 of 28 for 240 yards. That's 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. We just spoke about Fields having similar numbers to that. Bailey Zappi is a mediocre quarterback, half decent quarterback in the NFL, but definitely more on the mediocre side. I don't want him being my my quarterback for too long. The world is not falling in for the Kansas City Chiefs. They do have wide receiver issues, but there's only really one difference to them last year, and that was they had Juju Smith-Schuster last year, and Juju's not really done anything for the Pats this year. So the world is not falling in on the Chiefs. I'm sure they'll get this side, and I think they'll get out to an 8-point lead against the Patriots easily. And I don't think the Patriots have the offensive capabilities to bring that back. The Chiefs are a way better defense than the Steelers were last week. And the Steelers and the Pats only scored 21 points on that Steelers defense as well. The Steelers are a surprisingly bad defense. Didn't talk about this when we were looking at that game. Like, they don't give up loads of points. Well, they give up about like the average amount of points in the league. They give up like middle of the road points in the league, but they do give up loads and loads of yards as well. And you can really control the game against the Steelers. So let's not get drawn into Bailey Zappi Mania here in the Yankee and the Brit podcast. Okay, so the Titans are -3 playing at home to the Houston Texans. Obviously, the Texans are missing CJ Stroud and Tank Dell. They may also be missing Nico Collins. I know he's questionable, but he's now projected to score 0 fantasy points this week. So that usually means that they're going to be out for the coming week. Not really a fair reflection on the Texans in this game. We're not going to talk about this game too much. I do like Davis Mills as a backup, but only when he has the weapon. So if he had Nico Collins, if he had Tank Dell, if he then had Noah Brown as his third option, not his first option, and stuff like that, I think that would be a fair reflection on Davis Mills. I do trust him to take control of the game, not for loads of turnovers. However, Will Levis and D-Hop have something cooking down there in Nashville, Tennessee, and Vrabel always has his teams ready to go. Like, Vrabel is probably one of the best coaches in the NFL. When the New England Patriots mutually terminate with Bill Belichick going into next season, I think Vrabel should be at the top of their list going forward. Give me the Titans -3 in this one. Derrick Henry has also not had loads of yards, but has accrued touchdowns and come up with the big plays when he's needed. So give me the Titans in that game due to the Texans' defensive issues. Okay, so another strange point spread for me, but I'm surprised that the Packers are favored over the Bucs in this game. Should I be surprised about that? Like, feel free to get in the comments or like the video, subscribe, all of that kind of stuff. If you disagree with me, because as you see, love taking shit and putting it on the screen and talking about it. So I'm not 100% sure why the Bucs are dogs to the Packers, apart from the fact that they're at home, because they've still got half a point advantage on your neutral field. If it was within 3 points, I'd be like, okay, I can understand that a little bit more. But no, it's not. It's 3.5 points is the is it? Jay picked the Bucks in this game as well. I'm going to pick the Bucks too. I feel like I've picked the Bucks and been high on them all year. I feel like they've been quite unlucky. I feel like they do have some coaching issues in Tampa. They have all the talent on the offensive side of the ball that they need. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin maybe taking a bit of a regression, but still two of the top wide receiver pairings in the league that in Tampa. And they have the better QB in this matchup. Baker Mayfield is a better QB than Jordan Love. Sorry, everybody in Green Bay. There's a lot of talk about the Packers having a great defense, but both Tampa and Green Bay give up 20 points per game, which isn't horrific in average. It's about mid-table in the league. But they both, I think the Packers give up 20.5 and the Bucks give up 20.8. So very similar defenses. However, the Bucks have a top 10 rushing defense in the league, so it's all going to be on Jordan Love in this game, and I think he will crumble in this game after getting beaten by Tommy DeVito and the Giants last week. Give me the Bucks in this game. I won't take the money line. I'll take the points because I think it will be close. So I'll take the points in that game. Okay, now again, when me and Jay disagreed, actually. So the Cardinals are plus 12 and the playing at home against the 49ers. Jay picked the 49ers. So if you can tell I disagreed, I'm going to pick the Cardinals to cover the spread in this. I'm not going to pick the Cardinals to win the game. I'm not crazy. It seems like a crazy point spread, like a huge point spread, especially going away from home. Murray has good escapability, and that could negate the 49ers pass rush. I think his ability to move the pocket can negate the 49ers pass rush. So I don't think they're going to have their way with Kyler Murray like they do with other teams. The Cardinals have been playing really hard football this year. The Cardinals are also coming off a bye after they went to Pittsburgh and beat them by 14 points. Obviously, I've been saying the whole pod that the Steelers aren't a great team, but that's to go into a bye after beating a team by 14 points is a good come up. The 49ers have had a semi-difficult schedule recently where they played the Eagles and the Seahawks, and now they're going into a few games, so could be coming in a little bit tired, a little bit wary. Brock Purdy with the Avengers around him has looked like an MVP this year, so he's definitely got the numbers for the MVP run. Brock Purdy, I think the rhetoric around him is he the MVP even on his own team? Is Christian McCaffrey not the MVP on his team? Is Deebo Samuel not the MVP on his team? And I think when you call him wide receivers, you say Deebo Samuel is a bit different because obviously what you would say with the wide receiver thing is Brock Purdy is the guy throwing it to Deebo, so therefore Deebo is the best. Therefore Deebo is the best in the league. Deebo is the best in the league. Obviously, Purdy is handing the ball off to Deebo, so it does become a little bit difficult. So I think the rhetoric around Brock Purdy is a little bit different. What are we going to bet? I'll bet you Dak does not win MVP. Okay. Yeah, I bet you Dak does not win MVP. What are we going to bet? I don't know. Let's text throughout the day on that one, and then we'll make an announcement on the YouTube page and on the Instagram before Sunday's game, and we'll get to that. It's because I'm not sure what to bet on it. I bet on it. I'll bet on it. Oh, hang on, that's not really fair. What about Dak versus Brock Purdy in that? Who's gonna win the MVP voting on Dak versus Brock Purdy? That I think is a better bet for the two of us to get, because you get anybody's going to win it over Dak. Okay. That win that the 49ers had against the Seahawks, I thought was closer than the final score suggests. I thought the Seahawks actually played the 49ers pretty well. I think the 49ers were struggling, especially in the first half in that game. So give me the Cardinals to cover the spread, to play the game hard. But yeah. Okay. Rams against Commanders. Personally, I don't think there's loads to say about this game. The Rams are 6.5 at home. Jay picked the Rams. The Rams have been playing good football this year. If they played their extension of the run game, so when me and Jay talk extension of the run game, we don't just mean handing the ball off. We mean little bubble spreads to the running back, and the short passing game kind of comes under the run game as well. Kyren Williamson will dominate this game. Kyren Williams will dominate this game against the Commanders. Ron Rivera on the hot seat, gone next year. I don't think they'll fire him in season. I think he'll be gone next year. They should fire him in season to give Eric Bieniemy a little audition for the role, because with Eric Bieniemy's off-field stuff, you need to go to the owners with, look how much better he made us when we made him the head coach, if you want him as your head coach. So I would fire him in season, but I think he'll be able to wait until the end of the season before he loses his job. Dak will be MVP over Tyreek and Purdy. And I'm telling you, there's no way. No. I said that if Tyreek Hill breaks the record, he will be MVP. And I said Dak is MVP of the league right now. I do think Dak will finish above Purdy in MVP voting this year. But if Tyreek Hill wins the league, if Tyreek Hill breaks the record, goes over 2,000 yards, then I think he'll be the MVP of the league. So I'll take a bet on Brock Purdy, on Dak finishing above Brock Purdy. And with that, we'll go into the Bills versus the Dallas Cowboys, where the Dallas Cowboys are dogs. Everybody go to your casinos, because that's how I believe that's how you've got to do it in the States now. If you can do it by an app, get on the app. Bet on the Dallas Cowboys in this game, plus 2.5. That's crazy to me. The Buffalo Bills are not that good. The Buffalo Bills are the 11th seed in the AFC. They are not that good. Jay's picked the Cowboys as well and agrees with me. Josh Allen had a horrible second half and actually should have lost his team the game. Like me and Jay have discussed, I think that Tony was offside, and therefore the flag is fair if he is offside. But there is so much where they should have been calling him earlier in the game. They should have been... they should have told him, like, the flag was thrown immediately. You can tell the coach and say your guy's offside. As well, you normally get a warning, is what Andy Reid said. And if that is true, then it wasn't fairly had. So I do think he was offside, but I do think it was unfair to call the flag considering how many players have been offside during this league, throughout the league. So I think that was an unfair flag to throw. And the Bills got lucky. The Bills got lucky there. Josh Allen has cost them a win against the Eagles because he missed open Gabe Davis. He cost them. It wouldn't have even really needed to be a discussion, this Kansas City penalty, because he missed Gabe Davis again the next week to go straight into the end zone as well when Gabe Davis was wide open. Against the Eagles, everybody says Gabe Davis was running the different route. I think Gabe Davis was running the route, and it's like, oh, but cover zero, you cut in. He was open. He went outside and was open. Hit him. If you're that good, hit the fucking guy. I hope that like Josh Allen just isn't that good. He had a horrible in the second half. And he would have lost his team the game. The Bills defense is riddled with injuries going up against the Cowboys offense that is playing stellar football right now. We have a kicker that can kick it from anywhere. We have a running back who is finally running hard and running through tackles. We have one of the best offensive lines in the league in terms of protecting Dak. And Dak is, for me, the MVP leader of the league right now. He is the MVP leader of the league right now. If you look at the numbers and the value to his team compared to Brock Purdy's value to his team, and obviously I don't think that the voters will give it to a wide receiver unless he breaks the record as well. I think it's Dak at the moment. For me, the Cowboys also top third lead in the league in takeaways. They're plus 10 in turnover differential. The Bills, with Josh Allen, turn over the ball willy-nilly. We seem to forget that Josh Allen turns over the fucking ball, even though it's Dak Prescott that always turns over the ball. No, Josh Allen is the guy who turns over the ball. So I think the Cowboys are going to walk this game, personally. And for you guys who are saying the Cowboys haven't beat anybody good and the Cowboys are only 500 on the road, the Cowboys have played the 49ers and the Eagles on the road. So that's like harsh. But yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys who are saying the Cowboys didn't beat anybody on the road and seem to think that the Buffalo Bills are an incredible team are able to come out and say that the Cowboys are a great football team eventually after this week. Moving on, and I understand the game's kicking off now, so so enjoy the game, everybody who's tuning out now. But also those of you staying with me for the last two games, we have the Jags versus the Ravens. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going into Baltimore, and the Ravens are favored by -3.5. Jay picked the Ravens in this game. I have to agree with him on this one. Lamar Jackson is a sneaky MVP pick. For me, I don't think he's anywhere near Dak and Purdy at the moment. But if Dak loses to the Bills and the 49ers lose to the Ravens, then I think Lamar could start creeping up there. The Ravens defense is always solid. Their new offense looks stellar at points. The Jags are incredibly shaky at points as well. In big games, the Jags have been shaky and the Ravens have been excellent. So give me the Ravens in this game, -3.5. And now the final game, Seattle are +3 at home versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And Jay picked the Eagles, and I totally understand why. And call me an Eagles hater all you guys want. That's totally fine. I understand you guys calling me an Eagles hater. I think the Seahawks are going to be within +3. I think the Seahawks are actually going to win this football game, and I'll tell you why. And I think Jay's going to start calling the Seahawks my darling team soon because I've been very high on the Seahawks. So give me the Seahawks +3 in this game, and I'll tell you why. So the Eagles have looked tired. They looked tired last week. They looked tired against the 49ers. Everybody's saying, oh, we can't take the Eagles' losses that seriously because they've had a really tough run of games. They've been through the gauntlet. Nobody faces this kind of gauntlet in the league. This is a scheduling issue, which is fair enough, right? Completely fair enough. They have been through the gauntlet. Seattle is not an easy place to go on the road to. It's got the 12th man. They play excellent football at home. The Seattle Seahawks wide receiver corps, a great matchup for them against the Eagles secondary. The Eagles secondary is worst in the league stats-wise. The Eagles secondary is horrendous. And when you've got DK Metcalf, who looks good, when you've got Tyler Lockett, who looks good, whether it's Geno Smith or Drew Lock, they just need to put the ball on one of them. They just need to put the ball on one of them. And I'm enjoying getting some hate in the comments. See, I get way more fucking hate in the comments when Jay's not here. Maybe Jay just protects me and I can't see the comments. But thank you very much for your contribution. King Carl, are you an Eagles fan or do you just think I'm being ridiculous? Because I think both are fair enough. I understand this is an out there take. But the Eagles are -4 in turnover differential as well. Jalen Hurts has had one good season of football. Realistically, in terms of body of work, Jalen Hurts has had one good season of football. Let's remember that. And this year, he's lost the ball way more than Dak lost the ball in his turnover. He lost the ball around the same as Dak losing the ball in his turnover year over a similar amount of games. All right, okay, 49ers fan. Well, then this is good for the both of us. We want this to happen. Maybe if we manifest it, then it'll be good for the both of us, eh? Actually, it doesn't really matter for you guys because you guys just need to win out, right? The Eagles are also bottom 15 in turnovers in terms of not giving turnovers. So they're top 15 in the amount of turnovers that they give. So I think Jalen Hurts had one good season. This year, he's not been great. I think I'd likened it to if I came and his getting them out of shitty situations at the start of the year, I've likened it to, if I came and shot you in the foot and then healed your foot, I would still have shot you in the fucking foot and been the reason you need to be healed in the first place. I think Jalen Hurts is a problem in Philadelphia. All the stuff where we say he's got great leadership qualities, he's got great intangibles, it's all the stuff that it should be said about Dak Prescott, but Dak Prescott doesn't get. But Jalen Hurts gets the advantage of. Give me the Seattle Seahawks in this game. I think the Eagles have been getting away with losses at the start of the year, and it's coming back to bite them now. I think if the Eagles hadn't run that gauntlet and weren't so tired, which they look tired and they banged up and they're injured, they had to run that gauntlet, I think the Eagles would walk Seattle. But with them having to run the gauntlet and being away in Seattle, give me Seattle in Seattle. I'm glad that Jay logged off before I did that because he'd be giving me a lot of hate in the comments right now. Whether you agreed with my picks or you didn't, feel free to subscribe. It'll be good to see you guys on more videos. Always feel free to comment, and we put them up on the screen as we go through. So like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend, and I hope we give you some good betting information and you win some money this week. If you win some money this week using our bets, please feel free to comment on any of our videos. Go follow us on Instagram and let us know there. We always like to know. So thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week.